Now there is one more issue that we have here, which is even though we are skipping the next stage when the build image fails, the push image job still gets executed. And that's because they are in the same stage. So these two jobs will actually run in parallel, just like these two test jobs. However, in this case, we actually only want to push the image once it has been successfully built. Again, it doesn't make sense to push something that doesn't exist, right? So in this case, we want to execute jobs in a certain order within a stage, not across the stages. So we want to configure a logic that says, do not execute these jobs in parallel, instead execute build image first, and if it fails, then skip the push image job. And that's because we don't want to configure its own stage for that job. So how can we configure that? Let's go back to the editor and configure what's called a job dependency. So we have build image and push image both in the build stage, and right here in the push image job, we're going to say this job needs or depends on build image job. That's it. That's the whole configuration. So basically this part here tells GitLab that even though these two jobs are in the same stage, the push image job actually depends on the build image job. So it will get executed first, and if it fails, then push image will be skipped. And as you see, the needs attribute is also a list, so you can depend on multiple jobs within the same stage. So for example, if we had a build application and then build image, then push image all in the same stage, we can have a dependency on the previous two jobs right here as a list. So with that change, let's execute the pipeline again, which means we just commit the changes and GitLab does the execution automatically. And here we see that pipeline is running. Let's actually go directly to the pipeline. And right here you see that build image is being executed and the push image is waiting. So it's not running in parallel like the tests, for example. It was actually waiting for the build image to complete execution. And as soon as the build image job failed, the push image job also got skipped. And that's exactly what we want. So now let's actually go back and fix our build image job and see that the pipeline gets executed all the way to the deploy image successfully. So I'm gonna change this back to echo, commit changes. Let's go to the pipeline. Build image was successful. Now the push image job is being executed. And once that's successful, then deploy image in a deploy stage will be executed. And you see that I don't have to refresh anything here. It gets automatically updated in the Git UI. So that's also pretty convenient. Now there are two more things that I want to point out related to the GitLab UI. The first one is this job dependencies tab here. And if I click inside and also enable show dependencies button, you see the visualization of all the jobs and plus any jobs that depend on other ones. So you have this relation between the jobs right here. And if I hover over the job that depends on others, all other jobs will be grayed out and you will see the jobs that it has dependencies on. So if you have a more complex pipeline with lots of job dependencies, then you can actually have a pretty nice visualization of those dependencies right here if it's not clear from the YAML file itself. So that's one thing that GitLab offers. And another one is if I go back to the editor, by default we have this edit view where you simply just adjust the YAML file, but you also have the visualize tab that basically gives you visualization of your pipeline configuration before you even run it. So it gives you the stages, and with this line here, again, it shows you the dependency, right? So this blue line means that push image depends on the build image. And what's also interesting, you have this lint tab where you can see a little bit different visualization of your pipeline for each job. So you have this run unit test job in the test stage and all the commands that you're executing there and so on. And again, if your pipeline gets really complex, then these visualizations may actually really help you in understanding what the logic in your pipeline does.